again, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today for another episode. Today we are going to talk about a very key aspect of a home, and that's windows. When do you know you need to change them? What should you look for? What do you need to do if you are looking for windows? What are some of the top brands? I'm not here to advocate for any particular brand because it's all about budget and, looks and things like that. But, you'll get a lot of advertisements in the mail. I have found as my home is around 20 years old, I get a lot of advertisements in the mail for window replacement and from various companies because, they know how old houses are. They're going to send them out because they know people are possibly thinking that. And so you may have that problem. How do you know if your windows are doing what they're supposed to do and so forth? So here's a few things to look for if you are thinking about new windows, thinking you have a problem with them. Obviously, a window, one of their most important things is keeping out water, keeping out rain, but also air. Are your windows drafty? Do they look right? Do they operate right? So we'll go through maybe 9 or 10 things to look for on a window, and then also, what do you need to do when you're looking at replacement windows? Who do you call? Where do you start, and so forth? So let's jump right in. Drafts and air leaks is number one. If your windows are really drafty, especially if you have wooden windows are great. They have a lot of good features, but over time the wood can shrink. Direct sunlight, it's not uncommon to find it on one side of the house and not another, where you'll have south-facing or west-facing side, and you just get more sun, and that's going to dry things out. And over time, you might even look at the sides of your window, and you can see daylight through it. Well, if you can see daylight through it, you can certainly get a lot of air leakage through it. So you want to make sure that your windows aren't too drafty. If they're drafty, if you can see through them, that's why you sometimes will see people put plastic over them in the winter, because that winter is brutal, and cold air will come in. Maybe even sometimes precipitation or snow can come in if you have too big of a gaps on your windows. So if your windows are leaking or drafty, that's a good sign that maybe it's time to replace at least that one. All right. Number two, difficulty operating. Every bedroom needs to have an operable window that has at least a 2 by 2 foot area that's openable, so that you can get out, or more importantly, emergency personnel can come in. That's an egress requirement on a home. They shouldn't be any higher than 44 inches off the ground or off the floor. Now, this is more of a code thing for newer houses. Older houses typically don't have that set up. They don't have that much clearance in their window. But whether your window opens out, whether it opens up, or however it opens, it should open. And if you have a bedroom, maybe you've bought an old house and none of the windows operate in the bedrooms, or a bedroom doesn't have any windows that operate, you need to get that replaced. So that's a big one. Another thing for casement windows is when you're cranking that thing open, how far does it go open? It's not uncommon in homes that are 20, 30, 40 years old that you have windows that'll crank open a few inches and stop. And a lot of times that is indicative of settlement in the foundation. It could just be the window hasn't been used. It's dirty. The track's all gunky. The hardware's messed up on it, pulling out of the framing, whatever. There's various things that can cause a window not to open. But that is one sign that maybe you need something done with that. There's no per se requirement that a living room has an operable window. It's nice. It's nice to have that airflow if you want the windows open. It's only required in a bedroom, but it's something to think about if it has difficulty operating. If you have to walk outside to shove the window shut at the end, then that might be something you want to change. Condensation between the panes. Most windows anymore are dual or triple paned, and so you got that gap in between them, and in between that it comes from the factory sealed with argon gas. And this basically creates a vacuum, and that keeps it clear. All right, you don't have any moisture or condensation. When that seal breaks, you're going to get condensation. You're going to get air leakage between the panes, and it always looks bad. It is fogged, and you can't see things outside very well, or you can see little like condensation marks inside of it. Sometimes it's streaking. And this is a problem. More initially, it's more of a problem because of how it looks, but it also indicates possibly that your window seals are going bad. And so this, again, especially, it's not uncommon to see windows that are facing the south or west side where you get more sunlight. You've had that expansion and contraction more over the years. The differences in temperature are more extreme, that you're going to have condensation between the panes. So that's one sign that maybe you need to have the window changed. There is also the possibility that you can just have the glass replaced. You don't necessarily have to replace the entire window unit, especially if you have like vinyl windows. A lot of times those will come apart. A technician can come out, take it apart, replace the glass unit only, and that's a little cheaper than buying a whole new window. So excessive noise, number 4, especially if you are on a busy highway or you're close to a major highway that has heavy truck traffic or whatever, and all of a sudden you're starting to notice more noise, excessive noise. Maybe it wakes you up at night or whatever. That's a sign that you're losing some of that seal. Maybe it's time to think about some better windows in that area to help block out the noise. That could be as simple also as planting some vegetation out there higher than the windows that can help to alleviate some of that noise. Number 5, visible damage or decay. Most notable on wood, but you want to, let's say it's a double hung window where you have the top that can come down or the bottom that can go up. You want to check both halves, check for decay, check for rot along the base, because water will, if it coming in, it'll sit. This is especially notable that we've noticed over the years on wood that has metal cladding on it. The metal cladding is outside. Water can run down the glass. It can seep in the top of the metal and just sit in there and rot the base of that window. You might not even notice it till you open it up. Sometimes they're hard to find until you actually open up and feel around. This can happen on double hung, or it can happen on casement or awning or any style. Fixed windows sometimes are the worst because they never get opened. And so you don't know about it until, oh, how come the bottom corner of this window is gone, right? And so that's a big one. You have visible damage or decay. It's time to at least repair that window. Sometimes you can repair parts of it, but you want to make sure you're not getting water in there anymore. High energy bills are number 6. This may be a little bit tough to distinguish unless you're really diligent with your energy bill, because different seasons you're going to have the ups and downs anyhow. But if you have really drafty windows, older ones, sometimes we'll inspect houses from the 50s. They have the original windows. They got aluminum frames. It's a single pane, and they may have storm windows, but regardless, that's not a real energy efficient window, and it's going to affect your bills. Number 7 is pretty obvious. Water damage or leaks. If you can see water coming in, if you can see staining, sometimes one way we inspect windows on an inspection, you look up top and you'll see droplets where all you see is a droplet, all right? And that just indicates at some point you've had water coming through there, and it's the flashing or something is allowing that to happen. So water damage or leaks is another big thing. Water stains. Obviously, if it's pooling, if you got water pooling at the base of your window, you got a problem. So number 8 is a little more cosmetic, outdated style. You've bought a house, maybe you've renovated it, but maybe you haven't updated the windows. And the windows that they make nowadays, there's a lot of awesome options that are cosmetically appealing, that aesthetically blend in well with the changes you've made to the house. And that's something that take a look at. Looks aren't everything, but they are something. So another point, increased external condensation. If you have a lot of condensation going on, really internal or exterior, that's just a sign that they're not quite as thermally efficient as you'd like. Now, I will caution you, before you go replace all the windows in your house or respond to that ad in the mail, it takes quite a while to pay off the energy savings with new windows. All right, and there's so much variance to this, I can't give you an exact breakdown, but if you go buy new windows and they are, let's say you spend $15,000 on new windows in a house, think about the amount of time and your energy bill. Let's say it goes from $400 a month down to even $300 a month. So you're saving approximately $100 a month. Think how many months that takes to make up the $15,000 that you spend on there. It may look better, it may feel better in the winter, but as far as actual energy savings, it's going to take quite a while in most circumstances to justify that. So make sure you're factoring that in before you go plunk down the money for new windows, because you think energy efficiency is what it's all about. Because you're going to save maybe $1,200 a year at that point, and that's going to amount to what, 10 years for a payoff before you're before you're going to pay off that amount with new windows. So now that you've decided maybe you want to replace a window or multiple windows, what are we looking for? Well, there's typically if you scour the internet, you'll find all kinds of brands of windows. You can go to a department, like Home Depot or Menards and Lowe's, and they all kind of specialize in their own brand of windows. Or you can go outside of that, kind of the big three, I guess you would call it, that we see the most. Andersen, everybody knows about Andersen windows. Pella, especially some of the newer ones, are pretty good. They also both companies make the sliding doors and so forth. And then you can go maybe a higher end window like Marvin. Marvin is a really good window and has really good warranties, but you're going to pay more for them. And with each of these, you're going to have different levels. You want the basic model, you want the middle, or you want the high end. And so each of those are typically going to have reps in the area that can guide you through this process. I would suggest going to a showroom. Find a place that specializes in windows. A local place that is maybe family owned, who has been in business a long time. Just go to their showroom, find out what they have, find out what different offerings they have, both aesthetically and functionality. You want that living room arched window fixed. It's maybe got a bad seal or it's leaking in. What do they got there can replace that with? What's going to be the most financially responsible to do that with? Or the most aesthetically pleasing. So there's no hard and fast rule about what kind of window to get. You want something obviously that's better. You want to know that they're going to put it in the right way and stand behind it. Typically, a window is going to have an upper level window, not upper being upstairs, but a higher end window. One of the better brands is typically going to have a 20-year warranty on that window. That can include for damage, for deterioration, for the fogged seal, anything like that. So make sure they have a good warranty. And, it may be possible you're in a house now that's 10 years old and the windows are warranted and you're starting to see some fog failures, some fogging between the panes, the seals failing. Check into that warranty. They may get replaced. I can speak from experience on that. We had some vinyl windows. They started having failure between the panes, but they were still under warranty, and we were able to get the glass replaced for free before we had to pay for them. So make sure if you're in a house, first of all, that has that warranty available, that you investigate that. And then if you're beyond that, you want to replace them, just do your research. Go to some places. I'd go to some place rather than online. Go to some place you can actually see them, touch them, operate them, see how easy they are to operate. If it's up high and you normally aren't even going to open it, maybe you don't need one that opens. And then one other thing to think about, no matter who you hire to put your window in, if you have an older house and you have lead-based paint on the exterior surfaces, if you hire somebody to put this window in, they need to be certified for handling lead-based paint. If they aren't, you can get in trouble and they can get in trouble. You can both get fined, and it's a ridiculous amount. So make sure whoever you hire to install your windows, let's say you're doing replacement windows on an old house with lead-based paint, maybe check ahead of time to see that you do or not, get it tested, that they are certified to do those repairs and handle everything in the right manner. So just a little tip for you when you do decide to get the replacement windows. But lots of things to think about. If you want to get your house inspected for windows or get an outside opinion on what we think about them, we'd be glad to help you out with that or guide you in the right direction. But thanks for listening, everybody. and like and share this podcast. You are our best advertisers. If you like this, we would appreciate you sharing this to all your friends and even your enemies. Hey, we'll take them all. So thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.